If you can stop talking for 10 seconds, that would be fantastic. You want to hit the start timer on there? You want to hit? You want to start podcasting, genius?
Tell you, you all need to get yourselves a Latina therapist because she will justify all your actions. You won't have to change. It's incredible. I went to her, I'm like, I have issues with anger and jealousy. She's like, I don't know, sweetheart, these people you've been dealing with sound like they had it coming. I'm like, Jesus. Her homework was super fun too. Other therapists would make me meditate and journal, and she was like, no, you go fuck his brother.
Hello, and welcome to Carnival Personnel. I'm Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And this is a Sideshow. I forgot that part of it.
Yeah.
So a couple weeks back, Joe and I had the delight of helping Jim McHugh with the Boston Comedy Festival, the 24th year. It was so much fun, start to finish. You know, the highlight, of course, was the final show. It was a competition. Also, the great Tony V got a Lifetime Achievement Award. Michael Gross from Tremors, because that's what we all remember him from, was there. And before the show even started, like really early on, Joe and I were there early, and one of the comics came in and saw the stage, from the back, and it's a gorgeous stage. It's a gorgeous theater. The Berkeley Music Hall, and asked if we could, take her picture with it in background. And it was great, and she was a delightful. And then about 2 hours later, she became the co-champion of the 24th Boston Comedy Festival. And for some reason, maybe she got caught up in the moment and the excitement, but she agreed to be on the podcast. So from Toronto, let's have a huge welcome for the 24th Boston Comedy Festival co-champion, Anjelica Scunnura.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I'm still like trying to stay in that time. I'm like, it's been 2 weeks. I wish I could just pause this really brief moment of time to just continue to savor it. Because it was such a wonderful experience, and thanks to people like you both, you made it really fun, really easy, and just I get misty thinking, just talking about it. So yeah.
Why don't we just start there and then work backwards? Was this the first time you did this festival?
Yes, although I've been rejected for 6 years in a row. No, that's not a full truth. Okay, so I've applied every year except, during COVID, I actually did the festival when it was online. So I did the online festival, and I got to semis, and that was the year Liz Glazer, who's just absolutely killing it now. That was the year Liz Glazer won, and every other year rejected for the actual in-person competition, including last year. And this year I made a joke because I applied, and I said, I was talking to my mom, and I said, just a second, got an email, probably got my rejection from Boston Comedy Festival this year. And then I looked, and they're like, oh, you've been invited. And I'm like, oh, okay, amazing. And I just know it's such an incredible festival, like one of the best festivals to win, to propel your career to the next level. And it's like, I'm like the second, I think, Canadian to win it, besides Trix, who's an absolute monster. I don't know what I was thinking, but I just knew I was going to go into it, try to stay present, because competitions can be hard in the way where you come out and you do your act, and it feels very like I am doing my showcase now. And it can come off very tense because there's a natural tension in the air with the audience, with the people performing. It's not like a regular show. So to have to just go beyond that and dig deep and kind of just go, this is me. I think that was something that worked for me. Sorry, that I have a problem with rambling. You can cut
oh
me
my
off.
God, that makes 2 people on this podcast with a problem with rambling, and I'm not the other person.
I told my boyfriend, I said, I'm going to end up rambling so hard on this. He's like, oh, you'll be fine.
You will be more than fine. It's like I make notes for myself, but the ADHD is just so bad. It's like no, but so many questions specifically with somebody who comes from as far away as you do. But first, I too have never got accepted into the Boston Comedy Festival, but I did get to work at 6 days, 12 hours a day, so that was a win. At the festival, I've become friendly with a guy who came in from Ottawa. There was a bunch of people who come in from California. So you're coming in, it's an 11-hour drive if you make the lights and you don't have problems getting over the bridge. But
I like how you break everything down to the traffic. Like everything with you, with comedy, it's like, oh my God, the drive. You
That's
got to really
important factor in the value of of the driving and the travel. That's a very important factor when considering doing things like this.
Right. The key to winning a competition is getting easy pass. So that way you can really get there, cut down on the drive.
As far as the traffic, it was the most soul crushing thing when I started doing this, and I was talking to Joe on one of these like 2-hour drives, to do a 10-minute set in Maine, and he's like, the driving doesn't count as part of your 10,000 hours, right? And I was like, damn it.
There's exceptions. This has been a discussion that we've had, right? Is the drive part of the 10,000 hours? It depends on who else you're driving with and the riffing. If you come out of that hang with a bit, that's part of the 10,000 hours.
That's it.
So listening to Pavement albums relentlessly on the drive doesn't count. Okay. Note to self.
Calling into conservative radio shows does not count.
So as somebody who came in from so far, did you know if you were going up Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? When did you know which day you were performing in the first round?
I knew very well, like in advance, the day I was performing. So once you get accepted, you find out your date, and it's like, yeah, I always like to acclimatize to a city, get to know the scene before I do something like that. So I showed up a few days early, just so that there's no stress. And I'd rather put in like, if I'm gonna get kicked out on night 1, at least I put in the time before, building up anticipation for it and getting excited about it and getting into the city and walking around and checking out the local comedy scene. And so that's what I did. Got to see my friend Ryan Long perform at the Wilbur a few days before. And that's an old Toronto friend of mine. Him and JJ Lieberman, one of our local psychopaths. Every scene has one. So I got to see them, and I fell in love with the city before I set foot on that stage. So I think that was a big part of it too.
Be careful, she'll break your heart.
Miss America.
Did you do any mics beforehand? Did you go to any place and go up?
Yes, I did. I went to like a distillery. I went to, does that make sense? In South End? Yep.
Oh, there's lots of microbreweries all over Boston and the suburbs.
Everywhere is a microbrewery.
Even like libraries have like the libraries in Boston have like a tap somewhere. We're drunks. We're a bunch of drunks.
Yeah. It's like everything is like a yoga studio and then the microbrewery. So you can integrate the two however you see. You could also have a fried chicken sandwich everywhere these days. So
because it was nice. There was a few people who were coming in from California and stuff like that who went up like Monday and were just generally asking around, and I was able to say, well, here's a listing. There's a Facebook group called Boston Comedy 2. There's an Excel sheet that tells you.
So can I tell you, I have incredible OCD for comedy. So when I know I'm coming somewhere, I will look up the mics. I will see what's happening regularly. I will reach out to people so that I know what I'm doing when I get there. I find it's like you get to a city, you only have so much time to go, oh my God, shit, what's happening? It's like you want to take the time to actually like chill too, right? So I think planning and asking around, like Casey McNeil. I met him during the pandemic on Zoom shows, and then he was so helpful to me for this trip. And I gotta say, like, if there's one good thing that came out of this freaking Zoom, like the Zoom shows, it's all the wonderful connections that have been made. That when you finally meet these people in person, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing, and you end up kind of at an advantage. So yeah.
No, it's great. I mean, I do shows for KO Comedy sometimes. A few months ago, I'm at a Jim McHugh show in Portsmouth I was hosting, and one of the guys on the lineup I never met before, but he and I have been on the same lineup for this KO thing, and he's from like Rhode Island, so here we are in like New Hampshire. It was nice. It's really nice when you get to finally put faces to names, and it wasn't the worst thing. So you drove down from Toronto?
No, I flew.
And well, that's the thing. So if you fly in, did you have a one-way ticket and they got a one-way ticket back, or did you get a ticket that you could change? Because if you went up Tuesday, was your preliminary day?
Yes.
And then you went back up Thursday.
And then Saturday. So I had a gap day in between, and that was kind of the gap days were the days where I'd go, like, I didn't plan to win. And people, whenever I tell people that, they're like, oh, you should always believe in yourself. Nah.
Well, I believe in myself.
You can't make this plan to go, I'm going all the way. I've booked the ticket for the Sunday after the finals. I respect that some people can do that, but I legitimately booked my ticket back for Thursday. So it's like, if I had gotten eliminated, I would have taken the next day to like come back, watch it, say goodbye, and then leave the next day. So that's kind of what I had planned to do. So I planned my return flight with a change. You pay so that you can change it last minute. And then I booked my hotel only until that day. So I'm like, if I make it through, it's a good problem. I have to go find another place to stay. It's a good problem to have. So I took it as that. And I took changing my flight as a good problem to have. It was very easy. And then I just took those days to like kind of relocate. I had to go get my laundry done at one point, which was really weird because I've never taken my laundry to a laundromat. Not since I was like 19 years old, schlepping my laundry. So it was kind of funny to have to go find a laundromat and figure out my next set and then just smoke weed and hang out. That's what I did.
So
and now you can smoke weed in the laundromat. So that's like
Well, welcome to Massachusetts. But so the funny thing about the festival, I had never gone to it before. And so it was great because Joe and I were helping Jim. He started doing live streams a few weeks before in preparation for the festival. So that was one of the roles that we played, helping him get that up and running every day. But I really started to feel a little bit for the people who came out of town competing because most of the comics I know who are local know that stage. And the preliminary stage is kind of a weird stage. It's kind of cockeyed, points away from half the crowd. It's right under or right over a subway station.
It's actually above one subway and below another.
Yes,
so
right.
That's comedy, baby.
Right.
And if you can't do your set on a pirate ship plank, getting poked in the ass with a sword and being forced to tell your jokes, then you shouldn't be doing it.
But the big thing is the judges aren't supposed to be swayed by audience reaction. But if somebody's going up who's local and it's a room that holds 100 people and they have 30 friends there losing their shit over every, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Wow! It's like, does that affect the judges judging? Which I kind of did. I felt for the people who didn't know anybody in the town. And then I really felt for the second night because the preliminary rounds, the rooms were packed, crazy packed. But then the semifinals, it's one of those things where if there's a local-ish person who maybe drove in from an hour away in New Hampshire,
Yeah.
10 of their buddies came, but you didn't know if you were going up in the semifinals on Thursday or Friday. But if you got off the stage, the second show on Wednesday, and you're leaving the winery, City Winery, at midnight, you are going to get an email at 9 a.m. saying, "Oh, you're going on tonight," and now your buddies can't come out 2 nights in a row. So the rooms weren't as they were half full for the semifinals, but packed for. So I don't know. And then you went from 5 minutes to 7 minutes. Did any of this? Were any of these curveballs unexpected, or how did you plan for the unexpected?
Well, it's like I've done a few competitions now, and there's always going to be a comic that goes up that has home court advantage, that knows all the local references, that has their friends there, and honestly, they kill. And you got to kind of hope that you can ride that good energy and that the judges can see through all the extra stuff. Because I know that, like, whenever I've judged anything, I'm aware of all the external factors that can affect something. But ultimately, you know, if a person's funny, and generally the comedy is the most meritocratic part. That's why I like stand-up, is no matter all the noise that's happening around you and all the external factors that can affect this very delicate art form, it's like at the end of the day, the good shit kind of cuts through. So you can still kind of tell.
I mean, at the end of the day, the judges have to laugh at the jokes themselves. Like, regardless of how many plants are in the audience or ringers or whatever, they're still, like, if the jokes aren't funny to them, then that's going to, weigh heavily on their judging.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? The competition needs people to come out and support other comics, and it needs to showcase local acts. And it needs to have international acts. That's what makes it so esteemed, is the fact that you've got all these people kind of vying for one thing. And the local stuff is for sure obviously like scary when somebody goes up and they're like, the intersection of this and that, and everyone's like,
they said a place I know.
And then I'm just like, I'm trying to be like general. I'm like, I love wine, so I opened with my wine stuff, because it's like, you just find the common thread with the audience, and then hopefully you can get some wind in your sails and then sneak it into your other material.
Yeah, with Boston, you just sort of open with, how about that racism, huh? I mean, and then everybody's like, yeah, and they, one way or the other, they'll at least be able to relate.
But yeah, you mentioned Duncan's, Yankees suck. And right away, you're like, there you go.
Okay, can I just tell you, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I went to visit. I came in early, like I said. I went to Fenway Park the day before the prelims, and I went on the whole tour. I got to sit at the Green Monster, and to just be there was like so amazing. I have baseball jokes. I have like about 3 minutes of baseball material, and it always starts good, and then I can tell people are just like, half the audience doesn't give a shit about baseball.
Well, that's like a real baseball game. Everyone's excited to begin a baseball game.
I was ready to go. I know we're both in the AL East. Boston, the Red Sox, Boston Red Sox, and the Toronto Blue Jays. But at least we can bond together. And come together over the fact that we both despise the Yankees. So
yeah, Yankees suck is a universal. Yeah.
It's one of the oldest jokes, in every country has it. Like, it's like, but as far as here goes, it's like, oh, I have two favorite teams, the Red Sox and who's ever fucking playing the Yankees. You
should hold on to that material, because no. Well, no, I'm serious. I'm going somewhere with this bit. Don't laugh at the premise. Anyway, no, hold on to the material, because like in like 20 years, when you play Fenway, like Bill Burr did, you're going to be, here's all the baseball shit that nobody cared about when I was coming up. Now here's the place to do it.
I have so many jokes. I'm a comedian. It's the only sport I can afford to be a fan of. I sit right behind the guy that's desperately trying to get the wave started. He's going, everyone, someone validate me, and I go, save some of that energy for when you get custody, sir. The first. Sometimes people don't like it, like out in rural Ontario. And I go, yeah, you didn't like that one because you're that guy.
Yeah.
Too close to home. Yeah.
But yes, thank you. I would love to play Fenway.
And
you know who books that?
Well, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Talk to Tony V, because he was the
Tony V is technically the first person to perform at Fenway.
First comic.
Yeah, it's the first comic. The tribute for Tony V. He hosted Monday night. He had the tribute to him on Tuesday, and then the Lifetime Achievement on Friday. But at his tribute, Bill Burr sent in a clip, and he said, the best advice I ever got was when Tony took me aside and said, get the fuck out of Boston. It's like, no, but you learned. And look, if you can do what Bill Burr did at that point in Boston, it's so competitive. You think of the people who came out at the same time, but don't make the mistake of sticking around. Like, everything you can learn from us, you've learned. Now it's time to get the fuck out of here.
That's the case for a lot of your whichever scene you're in. You got to leave at some point. Yeah. So I just feel so honored to be acknowledged because Boston is like the premier comedy city, and I love the style of Boston comics, and I think I've got a little bit of that too, and it's just nice to be seen and acknowledged by Boston and the Boston Comedy Festival. And I do plan on leaving Toronto.
Well, the last question on the Boston Comedy Festival: when you were on stage with the other 9 comics, waiting to see who won.
Yeah.
Did you, first of all, 2-part question. When you got off after your set, how did you feel?
Okay. I felt absolutely incredible. I left it all out there. I didn't trip over any words. Everything went well on stage. I knew I was second last on the show, and everybody was just destroying. Everybody was having the set of their life. And I'm like, this audience is going to be exhausted by the time I come out, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, I'm like, it was a sober crowd, right? There was no bar. I'm like, there's no alcohol, and I'm the 9th act. Everybody's been killing. Like, these people were really the audience was really giving everybody everything. So I went on stage and I went, do you still have energy for me? And I had them, and I knew I was just like, yeah. And I just love being in theaters because I need space to perform. I have a few acts, as you know, where I need, the more space I have, the better. So I find the theater, coming from a professional dance background, I feel at home in theaters because I can spin around.
Well, so that's the biggest thing. It's like when you left the stage, there's always that thing. It's like, yeah, I forgot that aside, or but you left feeling good. So you knew.
I did everything. I have a really rigorous preparation plan. We only had 5 minutes, which, in terms of stamina, it's like I can give it all, the whole 5, and I should be fine. So I basically took some of my punchiest jokes and mashed them together. And I do these crazy vocal warm-ups because I have a tendency of tripping over my teeth. That used to be really bad when I was a kid. I used to be like this all the time. And so I have all these exercises I do to warm up. And when I came off stage, I'm like, I think that was enough.
Well, and so Joe and I were lighting the comics, and I gotta tell you, because with your twirling, you do one extra twirl, that's a couple extra seconds, and this was the first time, like, through the competition, and I felt so bad. I wasn't a judge. My job was simply to write down on the sheet a check mark if you did under 5 and put the time if you went over, because it was like a point taken off per 6 seconds. So they were broke down a minute.
Okay.
And how many comics, Joe, said, thank you at 4:59:58.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And we were so cringy, like, please don't go over because you're killing, like, everybody. But you're right, because everybody, their timing was off. So now you felt good getting off the stage. As you're standing there with the other 9, were you thinking, I got a real shot at this?
I have like 2 different sides to me. And one is, you got this, you're the best, you're the fucking best, nobody is better than you. And then the other side is like, but no, not at all. and it
that other side's a real bitch. Like, it's just,
oh my God, I know, she's a total cunt. And
see, I mean, you keep using that word, you'll be just like Bill Burr, just eventually just ride that for the next 10 years.
I think it's a weird chemical reaction that occurs when you're like waiting for the results of something, and you look around on stage and you've got every type of person, every kind of voice has been heard on this show. Everybody killed. Everybody is a kind person worthy of success who's spent years dedicated to their craft, who wants it just as much as I do. So at the end of the day, it has to, it goes the way it goes. And I do everything in my power to make it go my way. But, sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's comedy.
Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Joe and I have nothing to do. We didn't talk to any of the judges, but Joe and I are pretty sure we know what won it for you. What do you think won it for you? If you were to single out one thing, because everybody brought their A game, like you said.
Right.
But so what is it that you did that people say, everybody was awesome, but because which I have anxiety. So Joe and I left as soon as the comics as everybody's coming up on the stage, we went back downstairs. We went down the side hallway, and I'm dead serious. We're in the little hallway, and Joe and I are like, okay, who won? And we were both like, it's either Angelica or Casey. We were both like that. That's what we were saying. And then when we get downstairs and we hear you guys both won, we were super happy. But we were both. There was one specific thing that you feel that might have put you over the edge.
I don't know. I do a bunch of different little things and try to alchemize it into something. But what do you think? I don't know.
Joe, we on the same page?
We're going around this. We're beating around this.
You're Irish step dancing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because of how you open the show, using the whole stage.
Yeah.
And then the juxtaposition of this. It's a funny bit as is. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. Hilarious. But where you laid out that it's like, oh, she's really gonna do it. Because I don't like to give too much away, but that we were both like, that's it. That right. Because it was 3, 2, everybody in the back finally got what was going on. Right. And then I don't know if I was sitting next to the guy who was trying to start the wave at a baseball game, but all of a sudden everybody was just like, holy shit. And that might have got the best laugh of the 10 comics because, and again, the way you set up the set to pay it off with that, it was like, holy shit.
Well, and Boston was the best place for that joke to be done. I come from a very extensive Irish step dancing background, and it's true. And I spent like 7 years competing and going all over the world, and my grandparents would take me, and it was such a long part of my life that I'm so happy I was able to come away with that joke.
This might be the only time I can talk about this on the podcast, but my wife has some Irish background, and when she flew to Belfast a few years ago for like a professional conference, at the same time there happened to be a like Guinness Book of World Records kind of thing where they wanted to make the longest Irish step dancing line.
Oh my gosh.
And so and it was sort of like almost like a flash mob kind of thing where everybody kind of knew to be at this particular place at one time. And like, I don't know how long it spanned, but when she landed, she immediately went to, you know, her wherever spot she could get in that line and participated in the
Part of it.
yeah, it was just like the weirdest thing. But yeah, so she has a little bit of an Irish step dancing footnote in history. But
yes, definitely. And that joke in Boston, my goodness, it was like never a more appropriate place to put that joke. You know,
Perfect.
It's part of a longer bit that I did in semis. So I did the full bit in semis, and then when it came time to finals, I'm like, I'm just gonna cut it right after the act out, where I just stand still and then move on, because I wanted the audience to go, okay, this is who this person is. This is a little bit of every part of my life, and then kind of leave the stage, you know. And
well,
it's 5 minutes in a theater. You got to make the audience fall in love with you in the first 20 seconds in a situation like that. So it has to be very.
It's like speed dating.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
exactly.
pretty cool. So
that's why I don't do stand up, because I cannot get people to fall in love with me that fast. You got to really
play the long game. Yeah.
It's a long.
It's more of Stockholm syndrome, where he has to take you captive for a certain amount of time, and then you fall in love with them. It's a thing.
Yes.
But congratulations on that. But now let's get to the rest of you. So the dancing background is a legit thing, and whether you follow you on oh god, I want to say it right, Angelica's Daily Surprise on YouTube, or on Instagram, it's like, is she cosplay? No, she's a belly dancer. Oh, is she like what styles do you do? How long have you been doing this?
So I started off as a professional dancer. I come from a family of musicians and dancers, and I got they're like a flamenco dance group. So we do Spanish dance. My dad and my mom met that way. And I've been performing my whole life. I did Irish dancing, as you know, and I started belly dancing probably 14 years ago now. I won Belly Dancer of the Universe twice in Los Angeles. I traveled the world teaching, performing. I still teach, and I got a really bad injury like 10 years ago, and basically it was like, you're not going to be able to perform at the level you want to perform for much longer, because that's how bad it was. And so I thought, what am I gonna do? I'm from a family of artists. We don't have money. I'm not really educated in anything, but I've taught. I've had this whole lifetime of teaching and being very curious about people and working with people of different ages and abilities, and they were like, oh, you make us laugh so much. So I'm like, you know what? I'm an idiot. I'm going to try stand-up comedy. And this was like about 10 years ago. And I started doing stand-up. Now, I only did about 3 sets before I thought, you know what? Maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to say. I really don't have anything to say. Like, I need to go read a book or something. And somebody told me I needed to go get my heart broken. I was getting all kinds of advice. But anyways, 3 years later, I returned to it. So 7 years ago. And I put myself fully into it. I started to wean off of my live performance of dance and pursuing that actively. And I gradually shifted my life to do stand-up. And it was a very difficult transition, because not only did I have to keep my nights free, I had to keep every night free. I was struggling in relationships because, you know, people don't understand, you know, why do you have to go every night to this mic, and now you're an alcoholic, and and
oh yeah, you know, now you're an alcoholic.
And now you have a severe drinking problem, and no, so but it was calling me, and I knew I could take all my past experiences and kind of roll them into something and find this new life for myself. And that's it. I thought it would be physically gentler on me. In some ways it is, some ways it's not. But it brought me to the best people I've ever met in my life. I finally found the people that I belong with. Some of my best friends, the love of my life. So it's nice to find a really fun group of people who are smart and like-minded and driven. And you know, you can become very wealthy off of this too. It's not like you're like some weird conceptual artist that, you know, I don't know. Do they even make money? I know
No.
stand-up doesn't make money either, but it's the one thing where if you push yourself through and you keep just living your life, and it'll unfold for you. So very fortunate to have found that, because I'd be very lost right about now if I could find.
Is your boyfriend a comedian too?
Yes, a
That's
phenomenal one.
how because you hear that like a lot, that it's like, people don't want to, is it competitive? Is it you help each other with material? How is it?
It's not competitive at all, which is
He doesn't want to belly dance too. That's just your thing. Okay.
no, he's better than me actually. I better watch out.
Hey.
But we have very different styles that are very complementary of one another, and we help each other like hone our very specific styles, because we bring something unique to the relationship. And it's nice we do the road a lot together.
That's great.
We're on the same Just for Laughs Originals album together, and we've done a lot of this stuff together. And it's
awesome.
it's a very complementary combination. I know that some stand-up comedian relationships can be very toxic, but I like Natasha Leggero, Moshe Kasher. I like their dynamic, and I think we're kind of like that in a way.
Is it constant bits? Say it's constant bits. I like doing bits, you know.
It's a lot of bits. It's a lot of bits.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bits, and it's natural. It just comes to us naturally to just. There's always something funny going on. We're always being, hey, what do you think of this? And he helps me kind of cut down my stuff. Like, I'll be like, guess what? I've got a brand new joke. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then. By the time we talk about it, I'm like, it's actually 20 seconds. So,
I have a term for that. Joe. That's what Joe and I are basically a couple, and he takes all of my really long-winded premises that don't pay off, cuts them in half, and puts a punchline at the end, and then I go up and take all the credit for it.
Right, this is a good premise, but there's no joke here, and there's no laughs, and you couldn't get comp. No.
Have you ever had?
This was my problem when I started comedy. Is I thought I was hilarious, and you got to be kind of delusional to pursue comedy. You do have to think you're funny. There's a reason why you got up on that stage, and it's because you think you're funny, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the hard part about stand-up is going, okay, how do I do this all the time, even when I'm not in the mood, even when the audience is weird,
Yeah.
and that's the hard part is reproducing that same spark.
Yeah. And actually making a job out of it. Yeah.
Have you guys ever had a situation where he's pitched a joke and you're like, I don't think so, and then he's done it and it's bombed and you've been like, huh? Or he's done it, it's gone well, and he's like, or vice versa? Has that dynamic happened yet?
All of that
Okay.
has happened. All of that. There's been times where I'm like, you should say that, and then he says it, and then he's like, and then the part that he wrote will get a laugh, and then the part that I threw in won't, and then he'll be like, man, that was Angelica's idea. I'll never say that again. But then also the opposite happens too, and we kind of go, oh, this, that, and it sounds crazy, but we open mic night is our date night. We'll go to a mic, and then we know a place that does half price wings, and that is the best. That is the best date night for the two of us. We were gamers. We love gaming. We got into it. He got me into it during the pandemic, so we unwind through that.
What was your game during the pandemic? Your go-to, or what was the drug that got you hooked?
Children of Morta, Way Out. We're playing Valheim now. Minecraft Dungeons is what he started me on.
Okay. Yeah, you said a bunch of games that I play video games. Video
It
games or
takes two.
yeah, is it, oh yeah, these are video games
Co-op.
or okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. Because I
Then
don't. Oh, that's what I play alone. So I don't. That's why I don't know any of these games. It's just, oh, yeah, sure. That's sounds like a game. Is that a board game of some sort? Like Shoots and Ladders. Is that kind of like what you're playing?
Yeah, my 16-year-old plays a lot of Left 4 Dead, I think it is, or Don't
Exactly.
Starve, which is the only games I play are old Batman, the three Batman from Rockstar from like what 2007, 2010, and
Right.
2013.
And Resident Evil 5.
By the way, hold on. You have a 16-year-old son,
Yes. Be
but you're
17 if
only
you want.
25.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I look good for 70. I'm 55. No, my doctor, said I'm in great shape for the shape I'm in. So now you just mentioned when we started chatting before we recorded, you also host. Is that because hosting? I love hosting. I almost like hosting more than stand up because there's so much less pressure, and in
Yeah.
fact, you're not supposed to kill as the host.
Hmm.
Because if you kill before the middle guy goes on, or middle, you know what I mean? And then they're not, it's like, oh, you were hysterical for 2 minutes between comic 1 and 2, and now
Hmm.
comic 2 has to go up for 20 minutes and
Yeah.
keep what you paced. So tell me about your hosting.
I love hosting because like I said, there's not as much pressure. It is very challenging, and I do find it is essential to becoming a great headliner is to host. And what's most challenging about hosting is you got to get out all the like bureaucratic stuff, all the like welcome to the show, this that. You got to tell them the menu, and then kind of make them laugh immediately, and it can be a hard shift. So I finding a way to make that stuff funny is really good. And then being telling the jokes, earning the trust of the audience, and then going into the crowd and just being curious about people. And I find so often when I was like first starting to host, I would feel like I had to come up with something really funny immediately as soon as they responded to me about something. And then I'm like, no, you have time to think of something that's nice. I saw what's his name? He was Jimmy Brogan. Yes, Jimmy Brogan. He's an older gentleman. He was Leno's
Yeah, head writer. Right? Yeah.
So I watched him host a show last August. No, not host. I watched him do a set last August. And he just went into the crowd, asked people about their lives, and responded really nicely, and would kind of knew when to move on from people rather than make them feel uncomfortable or needle them or be in a rush to make some like flippant remarks. So for me, that is a big part of hosting, is going, hey, thank you for coming to the show. And then don't ask questions you don't want answers to. I don't get why people ask wild questions when they're hosting sometimes to audience members. It's like, don't ask a question you don't have a tether back to you with. And it's like, oh yeah, if you ask if they're in a relationship, you better have the thing to come out of that interaction and then move on. And so just kind of developing a repertoire for different jobs you see from people and having something funny to say and then moving on. It's like that's what I enjoy about hosting, and it just makes you stronger, especially in competitive situations when you kind of have to acknowledge the environment you're in. And yeah, I like hosting a lot.
And do you live in Toronto proper, on the
Yes.
outskirts? Okay. How is the Toronto scene?
The Toronto scene's great. Yeah, I live in Toronto proper. The CN Tower is just like a massive, I just see it right outside my window. And I live right with all the crackheads around here.
Hey.
Love it. I'm right downtown where I always wanted to be when I was a little girl. I'm like, I want to live there. And then it's like, well, I live here now. And, but
Hey, what's a
Toronto
crackhead
scene-
getting for Christmas? Your bike. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, right. No, we have bikes, and they believe you me, they are inside. um, but the Toronto scene is very bountiful. There's a lot going on. There's a good club scene. There's a great independent scene. There's a lot of performance opportunities on the road where it's like, anywhere from a 45-minute drive to a 6-hour drive. And they're not the most glamorous of places. Don't get me wrong, but every now and then you get a real gem. And it also, I gotta say, Jacques has helped me really develop as a comic by putting me on the road. And it's like being a Jacques comic for the past like 2 and a bit years. I come into Boston and I'm like, okay, I've dealt with everything. I've dealt with people getting on stage with me. I've dealt with, people yelling things and you just, it makes you better. So
speaking of dealing with the public, I briefly scanned your YouTube channel.
My Instagram?
No, not yet. But your YouTube channel, just to see what's going on. And I go, oh, okay, she does like exercise stuff. And then like I read the first comment of your most recent video about using a ball, and like somebody wrote like a comment about it. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. It'd be funny if she like commented on the comments, and then lo and behold, there's a whole video of you commenting on the comments, and I'm like, oh, here we go. 13 minutes of putting some light on this creep who's trying to
yeah, you know what, I love the creeps. I live for the creeps, and where would I be without them?
Right. I mean, you're on this podcast. I mean, shit.
I don't get too many like negative comments or anything. I also think I'm a little bit terrifying. I'm a little scary, and I feel like that is enough to keep a good rung of the unsavories on the internet at bay. I don't really care though.
Yeah.
And so where do you think you're going to be? You said you don't know if Toronto will be home forever. Have you given serious thought to, like, is it I take it LA is where you would think about maybe going?
No, we want to go to New York. And I also like, what I really want to do is winning, like being co-champion of the Boston Comedy Festival has now given me that power to finish my visa, to get me to the point where I'm able to take advantage of these like offers that are starting to trickle in. And I just want to be able to travel America everywhere. I want to go everywhere. I want to go to every state. I want to do every club.
Have you heard of all the states that we have here? Do you sure? You want to go to every state?
I want to go to all the states. Trust me.
All the states. I do think I'll always have a foot in Toronto. But I definitely I need to move all of our stuff. We got to start moving over there, and Boston Comedy Festival has really given me the power to do that. And I'm so happy. Like, I've just been elated these last 2 weeks because now I'm near the finish line with this process, all because of that title and that credit. So I'm really excited to finally get to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities. And I can't wait to see what other opportunities unfold, because this is a very much an unfolding thing that I feel is going to happen. This just happened 2 weeks ago. I'm still in La La Land. And I feel more confident because of this competition, and like I'm on the right track, and I just 100%. Can't wait to see what keeps happening.
No, I mean, when I saw you and the preliminaries and the festival, but then when Joe and I saw you but when we met you, before you went downstairs where everybody else was, you were just so nice and sweet. We were like cheering for you before, and we could not be happier, that you won. And Toronto, I've spent a lot of time, not a ton of time. I've spent more time in Canada than most Americans have, which is funny because at the festival, Tyler Morrison, did you know Tyler and John before the festival?
Yeah, so I knew Tyler before the festival. I did not know John. But I've known of John, obviously. And like during the pandemic, I ran a show on a rooftop every week. And it was wild. We would get like 40 people up on this roof, and it was under the stars, and it was really tucked away. And Tyler Morrison headlined one of those nights. So I hadn't seen him for like a little while since then, because that's how big the Canadian scene is. Everybody's going all over the place, and he's doing all these roasts, and I'm touring, and so it was nice to be able to see him again and to be like, hey, and catch up, because I'm a big fan of his. We've always had a really good rapport, and it was nice to get to see his live podcast and hang around him. So yeah.
Have you done his festival?
No, not yet. Not yet. I got to bug him about that.
Well, because like I said, I know the Toronto area pretty okay. I played 2 seasons of a summer junior league, the Fort Erie League, and there was like a team.
Yes, you were telling me that. Yes.
So there was a team in Hamilton and Sarnia and stuff like that. So I've been punched in the face in so many different towns in your lovely province. But when Tyler says,
when you told me that, I'm like, yes, that's a real Canadian experience there.
Well, no, the Canadian experience is this, and if you listen to their podcast, you will have 2 fights in one game with a guy, and then you're drinking in the same pub after, laughing about it with them. Like you leave it all out there. It's not like
podcast being what, fight stories.
Yeah, fight stories. But when he says, "Oh, I do a festival outside Toronto," I'm like, "Oh, where?" He goes, "Well, actually, it's 2 hours north." And I said, "Perry Sound." Yeah. And the look on his face is like, "How do you know where Perry Sound is?" And I'm like, "Well, I have a tattoo of Robert Gordon Orr, number 4 on my foot. That's where he grew up." And it was instantly like, okay, you have the right name. You have a Canadian name, and you know where Perry Sound is.
And just on the topic of Niagara Falls,
yes.
I played
slowly.
There's a Yuck Yucks in Niagara Falls.
Oh,
and I play that club once every 2 months, and I'm actually doing it. I think the first weekend of May, I'm emceeing in Niagara Falls. I'm out there all the time.
That's a 2-hour drive for you, right? About 2 hours, 90 minutes.
Yes, about that. And I'll take a bus a lot of the time, so the bus is about almost 2 hours.
There's so many Gilbert Gottfried used to take buses to shows because he was phenomenally cheap, and it was in his documentary. But I
like taking the bus. I read. I'll work on my set.
You meet some people.
Yeah. Right.
No.
I tell you? I'll just tell you this. One of the last buses I was on, I guess there was a problem with the bathroom. The bathroom smelled so bad on it. It caused a girl to throw up. Oof. And she threw up in her seat because of this. She couldn't go to the bathroom because that was the smell that was making her throw up. So that's buses.
Yeah.
It's
like its own human centipede, It's
for
just
sort of like
it's the
love of the game.
The grossest thing ever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's I seriously, the night of the festival, we couldn't be cheering for you more. Going forward, we could not be cheering for you more. You are a delight. You are hysterical. I really do like your comedy.
Thank you.
I really like your therapist. I think she is probably the greatest. I think everybody should have a therapist like you do. I don't know if she has any openings in her schedule. I like how you've managed to merge your other loves of dance and performance art and with comedy, and just seamlessly. It's not forced, like a prop comic. I love prop comic, but it just, the ebbs and flows that just the past lives that you've lived and stuff like that really round out your comedy. So
thank you so much. And I've always really loved physical comedy, and I'm happy that I've managed to find a way to become a physical comedian, but also I'm like, do the writing, have the good writing, and then the physical comedy accentuates it. And it seamlessly was not an overnight thing. You seeing me now, it's been a lot of grinding, a lot of going, well, that was clunky. a lot of almost falling off the stage. A lot of
I worried because you were doing one of your bits at City Winery that is not a big stage.
Can I just tell you, before you guys got there, I got to City Winery. I go, I'm gonna have to go look at this carpet wood situation here, right? And there were people already sitting down for dinner before the show, like a couple groups, and I was on stage and I was kind of like twisting my feet, and I could tell they were looking at me like, what is this chick doing? And it's something that I always, like, when I showed up to the theater, I go on the stage, I go, can I this has got some good traction on it,
Yeah, I know. You're one of the few comics who have to test the friction of the stage before you go on. It's just like, do I need slip guards on my feet before I go out on stage?
Have you ever bitten it while doing one of these routines? Have you ever face planted?
Not face planted, but last night I did it, and I stepped off the stage and I stepped back on. Like, I have all these escape routes.
Okay.
I have like emergency plans for all my jokes, which is kind of a crazy thing to have to do. But
if you ever fall, I mean, the tried and true, I've fallen and I can't get up. And then you turn it into a life alive. I don't know. Does Canada have those commercials?
Yes. When I was I went to Second City for stand-up performance, and we had our student show, and one guy said, I'm going to open my set with a somersault. So we were like, all right. And he did, but he hit his head on like a corner of the wall. And then he got up and it was just blood started trickling down.
Oh, my God. Oh, and he's got did he commit? Did he finish the set that he was just like, I feel right.
He did like 3 minutes and 23 seconds, I remember.
Wow.
And then passed out from blood loss.
Hey, can I tell, I'm super OCD with times. Like I time people. I don't know why. I enjoy timing myself. I'm a weirdo about set times. Did you say I did 4:59 in the finals?
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 you guys who were right there, and I was like, but nobody went over. Beater. It was literally, and it's like, and in my mind, I'm like, if it's 5:02, I'm probably just gonna put a check mark. But I had this whole thing. It's like, no, you're not. You're not
nice
allowed
of you to say that. Wow.
No, but I mean, like the professionalism, which I don't nor will ever have. But the whole set was just so tight, and where you merged physical comedy into it, and you had to factor all those things in. It was, that's why I think you won. So,
thank you so much.
We will let you get going, but everybody should follow Angelica's Daily Surprise on YouTube.
On YouTube,
it's hysterical. Scunnura, which is SCHOONC.
So
on
Scannura
Instagram
is the Scannura handle is at SCANOOCH. Scannura.
And Angelica Scunnura.
Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hassenpfeffer Incorporated.
Seriously, yeah, you were a delight, and we could not be rooting for you more. And we hope to see you. I go to New York all the time. If you're in there, I will follow you. And when you come to Boston, Joe and I will definitely come see you. 1,000%.
I'm really looking forward to like staying close with Jim and Helen and this beautiful new community. And it's Jim, I can't wait to come back. And I'm just so grateful for everything that, why wouldn't I want to hang out with you guys more?
Well, like Jim has like past contestants, past winners come back and host different nights. And then there was a Friday showcase, with Jim headlined. And last year's winner was there. So he'll definitely bring you back. I mean, it's a pretty great little community, but
they're stuck with me now. I'm coming back. Okay.
Joe, you got any final thoughts?
No, I just want to thank Angelica for putting up with our bologna sandwiches for the past hour. It was a real pleasure having you on. Again, congratulations. I'll see you on SNL in 5 years or so ish, right? Give or take. That's all you need, right? It's just another 5 years. Yeah, I think it's how did I do on time? Am I okay? Like, am I under the hour? Oh no, we went over. Oh no, we went over the hour. You know what? In editing, I'm going to cut out that big Toronto jag that Jacques went on for, like, he told his whole life story about how he had every little interaction in Toronto. I don't know. It was fine. No, but seriously, thanks for coming on. Jacques, don't forget.
You're just a bad Irish poet, a payday drunk with a liver of gold. And you might think you just know it, all but you're wrong, despite what you've been told. You should have left us alone and enjoyed the cold sun and the breeze through your home. I heard she's late again today, with your head in your hands. Do your tears taste like whiskey? How did I ever get in your way? I hope the next time we meet, you just square off and hit me. I'm one dumb son of a bitch with a knife in my back. I still think it's an itch. It's the same way out as before. It's just we're so fucking drunk, you couldn't find the car door.